Our last segment of today is about songwriting. What it's about is it's possible to write a song without picking up an instrument using an app or whatever. Making trees. If I were to throw you out an idea of a little melody, what would you do to it on the keyboard beside you? For example, you gave it all up. What were you looking for? You gave it all up. What were you looking for?
You gave it all up. What were you looking for?
No, what were you looking for?
What were you looking for?
You.
You're in D.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're right. It is D. But after coming up with a melody, after coming up with the line, you gave it all up, what were you looking for? Assigning notes to it just by whistling it. You gave it all up, what were you looking for? Now we got to find the notes.
That's probably D. But it could also be, again, B minor. If you wanted it sad.
Play, oh yeah, right. So you have options.
Or if you wanted jazzy, you could even go with G.
Why don't you do the...
That would be better later. But
can you do the D? What would you do after the D? You gave it all up. What were you looking for? Can you...
that would fit in E minor or A. That's E minor. Or... nah, I don't like that.
You don't... was that A?
That was A.
You don't like A? Funny, I picked A. Can you turn your camera over a little bit to the more to the keyboards? Yeah.
That's E minor. You could also go to C. That'd be weird.
So just if you could play the whole phrase, you gave it all up. What were you looking for?
Well, that's kind of like a logo or a commercial. And then there could be a chord there. Looking for or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I guess the whole point of this whole songwriting video is about your options that you have.
Oh, you have.
If you start with a melody, I start with a melody because some. Go ahead.
If you're trying to if you're trying to make it popular and it's going to be calm and smooth for most people, you go with what is most obvious: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, using 1, 4, 5, the occasional 2 or 6. You start with those. And then the more fancy you want to get, the more you try to fit these notes into chords that aren't in that setting of 5 chords. And if you want to get even more fancy than that, then you start using... in general, you always want to use chords that have these notes in them as much as possible, but it doesn't have to be. Jazz frequently, has a lot of notes that aren't in the chord. What I try to do is come up with crappy lyrics, put a song to it, and hope somebody else would change the lyrics. And that never, ever happened. People say, well, I can't sing those lyrics, and they wouldn't listen to the tune at all, and they didn't understand the way I was presenting it. But usual places, probably 3. One is you're playing on an instrument. You go, oh, I like that. And then you start turning into a tune. Sometimes it can be by mistake. Every once in a while, just as an exercise, try to do something on paper. All right, let's throw some chords together. I haven't written anything in a month. Okay, like A minor and this and that. And let's put a little melody together. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, that sounds like crap. Okay, let's do another one. And eventually you come up with, oh, I kind of like this. And the third way is you come up with some lyrics. Most of my best lyrics in those days were written when I was drunk. So I thought that was a thing. And for a few years there, I drank a lot to try to come up with lyrics. And I just came up with a lot of really bad lyrics. So obviously the alcohol had nothing to do with it. It was just lucky when my first few attempts. And after that, I stopped writing songs with lyrics for the most part. I'd write songs for like flute. But most of what I write is now more composition and less a song. It doesn't have as many repeating forms. It doesn't have repetitious lines and all that stuff. It's more what you call through composed, even though it may be in a somewhat popular vein. Not that most of my it's about half and half. Half of it is baffed and weird, and the other half is vaguely jazzy, bluesy, rocky, something like that. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
No, it does. There's a lot of like just for people that are starting songwriting or new to an instrument, they don't know. Like, and when I was, I mean, the first songs I wrote, like "Human Cabbage" or "I'm an A-hole," those weren't great. They were just like I was trying to figure out the whole songwriting.
I'm stuck here on Alpha 6.
I'm stuck here in Alpha 6, which
I remember that too.
and when I lived at your place that short period, I actually there was a piece of music which had this riff which I used for Creep Echo. I don't know if you ever caught that.
Oh, I've heard similar licks.
Yeah.
Even the occasional similar solo every once in a while.
What is that song? You know you don't want to be there because it's this last thing on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
I came up with that in your studio in Scarborough.
No, you don't want to be there. It's the last place on your mind. It's a raw temptation. Pulls you into the grind.
And I took that and I go, I can reuse that for this song. Yeah. I'll turn it into from a fluffy song into like a hard edged tune.
Right.
Because writing songs with Creep Echo was sometimes they just write themselves. I just wrote most of it just because I had the ideas, and the guys didn't mind that. Like we did collaborate, but there was one of my favorites was "Perfect People."
Oh yeah,
the bass riff. Because I woke up one morning half asleep, and I had this lounge singer singing this in my brain, and I'm like, oh, whoa, grab a paper, and I just from that dream I wrote that tune. But
on the cover of the latest magazine, the silver butterflies in her hair, with the airbrush soft look, perfect skin and eyes were all infatuated with her stare. Perfect people, shallow pain.
So when you songwrite, let's say you've written a song and you want to present it to Creep Echo or whatever, one of the bands, do you come up with the bass line and a basic how the drums is supposed to go? Or are you like most typical songwriters where you come up with the melody, the lyrical content, and generally how the chords should go? Maybe your part.
If the bass is fundamentally important, I will play a suggested bass line, give or take. But if it's just like a sketch idea, like for example, "Perfect People," when I used to just record that on my Zoom H1 and go, this is the song, this is approximate timing, but I wouldn't put any drums or anything.
Right, you just like acoustic guitar.
But sometimes I actually do a full sketch of it and go.
And then you let them hear the tune and they just have to copy a part or maybe mold the part to their own liking.
And I was pretty open. I'm like, I just say, if you want to reinterpret your bass, your part.
Yeah.
And Dave, I could never write for Dave because he'd always come up with something like some counterpoint sort of playing chords because he didn't want to repeat me.
In a smartphone, down, drunk in society, we only need the headlines, yeah.
He's a second guitarist. I mean, that's his gig.
So he come up with an upstroke staccato thing.
Opposite of you and make the whole thing bigger.
And he actually, I wrote the solo for "Perfect People," and it went. It was really busy, and he cut it in half.
Yeah,
he actually recorded it. He recorded the bass line. He recorded my guitar. I did the rhythm track, but I said, you know what, you got the lead right there. I'll just learn to play what you played.
Yeah,
it was pretty much what I was doing.
Yeah.
But he did it for me on the recording. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go up and replace that. But I'll add my rhythm part, so I do have a part in it. Yeah. He became a super producer. I mean, he's been recording for a long time too. So.
Yeah.